Before we get started, there will be spoilers for the Thousand Year Blood War arc of Bleach and the remainder of the Thousand Year Blood War arc anime in the video to follow. A ton of new details dropped yesterday regarding Core 4 of the Thousand Year Blood War arc anime, which is right around the corner at this point, and of course even closer for those able to catch the first 3 episodes in cinemas later this week. Again, I apologise for being a bit late with this, but I wanted to discuss it anyway and give my take on some of these announcements, as there's a bit to get through and I know everyone is excited. We've got a lot here, including some comments from Kubo himself regarding the production of the final core, and also a couple of teases for certain characters coming straight from the voice actors themselves. Much of the following information comes from Oricon News on a post compiled by Reddit user and friend of the channel Arturo Plateado, so a massive shout out and a huge thank you goes out to them for all of their work. It is greatly appreciated. Anyway, let's dive into what to expect when it comes to the start of the final season of the Bleach anime. For now at least, if my previous video is anything to go by. Before we do that, consider checking out the Patreon, the link to which you can find in the description below if you want to help support this channel that extra step further. It is greatly appreciated. So to begin, yes, as was leaked earlier last week, the air date for Core 4 The Calamity is confirmed to be July 25th, which means there's still over a month left to wait. This feels like a pretty late start, to be honest. It's unprecedented for the Thousand Year Blood War arc, and I wonder if it was done to help facilitate the theatre release. It does also confirm that which I said before, that if you do manage to check out the first 3 episodes early, as I will be doing, then from now, we'll have to wait almost 2 months before we get to episode 4 and something new, which is quite a while, but it feels like a worthwhile trade-off. And by the way, I'll still be following my usual content schedule for the anime while those first 3 episodes are releasing for the general public, the wider community. So that means a live reaction followed by an in-depth review. But as I'll have already seen those first 3 episodes, it'll be more of a live discussion, I guess, instead. I want to get the content out that you guys have come to expect and enjoy alongside these seasons of Bleach, and I love making them. Plus, it would forever drive me insane if I didn't cover those 3 episodes and yet had covered the rest of them in their entirety. So that's where we stand regarding those first 3 weeks. Once those 3 episodes are done, it'll be back to watching them and experiencing them for the first time alongside you guys. It is a little weird not to have the air date confirmed in a trailer, and speaking of which, I guess now is as good a time as any to say it looks like there isn't going to be a major trailer after all, right? I mean, all of the information collected here today, the air date, the opening and ending songs, all of that sort of thing is usually covered in a bigger trailer. After we received that teaser recently, back in May, I was left wondering if a full trailer was actually going to happen, and now I think it's fairly conclusive that it isn't. Revealing information like the date in this kind of way does feel strangely low-key, but I really think they are desperately trying to keep everything close to their chest, at least until the theatre release, and that Core 4 is going to be absolutely packed full of surprises. Again, aside from the shots of Uryu versus Hashwolf, virtually everything we've seen so far has stuck pretty closely to the manga. Next up, though, I want to discuss that new key art, probably the final piece of key art we'll ever receive for the Thousand Year Blood War arc anime, which is kind of sad, actually. It's the end of an era. But wow, it looks pretty spectacular. The key art depicts the final showdown between Ichigo and Yhwach, possibly even close to the final moments of said final battle, but with every iteration of Zangetsu that Ichigo has wielded to date, both Shikai and Bankai, embedded in the ground around him. It's honestly really awesome, it looks great, and there are a couple of cool references here as well, some obvious, some a little more subtle. Firstly, this is indeed the very final fight. That kind of feels like a bit of a spoiler. The two of them are battling amidst the rubble of the destroyed Serete, with the Sokyoku Hill and Senzai-Kyu looming in the background. Interestingly, the Sokyoku Hill appears to be intact here, whereas in the manga, of course, the edge of the mountain is carved clean off by one of Yhwach's attacks, leading to the creation of the new, enormous scaffold-like structure 10 years later. As Ichigo kneels on the floor, we can see that he's wearing his final battle accurate outfit. Both of his sleeves have been destroyed, as well as the cross-shaped armor that he was wearing too. In his hand, he's clutching his true bankai, with the chain flowing from it. Can we talk about Tensei Zangetsu for a moment? The anime hasn't been shy in showing off the design of Ichigo's true bankai at all. From the initial teaser trailer that showed it breaking in two, to this image here, clearly repaired, while revealing Ichigo's true bankai to anime-only viewers like this feels like a pretty big spoiler to me. What if there's more to this? What if this isn't the final version of Ichigo's bankai anymore, and the anime has added something else, like a new stage or a new design that's still to come, one that they are keeping under wraps, even for manga readers as well? That seems unlikely, I know, but they do seem surprisingly flippant with just showing this thing off. Maybe they assume that most people know what it looks like by now. But then surrounding Ichigo, we can see every version of Zangetsu from the story to date, starting with, of course, the very first Zanpakuto he ever used before he even knew the name Zangetsu, the one he gained from taking Rukia's power, to then his original Shikai, perhaps the most iconic weapon he's ever had, and then the original Bankai behind that. The fact that that first blade is here is pretty cool because it's not Zangetsu at all, really. It's a facsimile of Shinigami power that he's able to conjure based on taking all of Rukia's power. His own latent power, of course, waits beneath that. But then on the left-hand side, we have Ichigo's Fullbring Shikai and Fullbring Bankai, still my favourite versions of Zangetsu visually. And then behind them, we have the sword Ichigo acquired upon completing his Fullbring, prior to recovering his Shinigami powers. And then, of course, over on the far right, we can see the dual blades of Ichigo's true Shikai, the longer blade representing the fusion of his Shinigami and Hollow powers, and the shorter one representing the Quincy powers too. It's a great image, it's an evocative image for sure, and it shows the journey that Ichigo has been on, the path we've all taken, that's led to this moment, to this decisive final battle. Of course, it also directly references Ichigo's Bankai training in the Soul Society arc, where Old Man Zangetsu conjured a bunch of blades, embedded them in the ground, and instructed Ichigo to then find the correct one. Considering Yhwach relationship to Old Man Zangetsu, this is an awesome touch, and of course Yhwach ends up looking more and more like Old Man Zangetsu than ever during this fight, with the flowing white collar and all-encompassing shadowy black cloak. Honestly, I'm a little surprised that they even included the Fullbring blade, but I guess they really wanted to be as all-encompassing as possible, and to be fair, Ichigo does face off against Tsukishima using that sword. Anyway, moving on to Yhwach himself, we can see he's floating in the sky above Ichigo, having essentially just become a veil of the Soul King's mass of oozing black power, covered in the eyes of the Almighty. While I don't think this is a reference to any particular aspect of the final fight, the reason why I said earlier that it could be a depiction of the very final moments is it does look similar to when Yhwach gathers his power back to him, as you can see it flowing to him on the sides once he's been shot with the still silver arrow. Now, of course, that hasn't happened here. Yhwach is quite clearly using the Soul King's power, but it feels like it might be a reference with him drawing that energy to him. Meanwhile, Ichigo drops down to the ground below to grab Tensei Zangetsu and return to deal the finishing blow. And again, if that is the case, if that's what they are trying to directly reference, then it feels all the more poignant that all of Ichigo's former blades should be here with him at the end. The coolest reference in this whole image, though, is one that's maybe a little more subtle. In chapter 428 of the manga, I believe, so way back at the start of the Lost Agent arc, Kubo gave us this wonderful double-page spread in colour, showing Ichigo flying upwards past all of the enemies he had fought so far, the likes of Uryu, Renji, Ikaku, Kenpachi, Byakuya, Grimjo, Neutra for some reason. Neutra feels like a little bit of a dubious one, Ulquiorra, and even Aizen, so no Gin but Neutra, that's weird. Soaring towards something, not Ginjo, as Ginjo wasn't confirmed to be a villain yet at that point, but a mysterious black silhouette flying high in the air above. The silhouette kind of looked like an enormous, open and tattered cloak with chains attached to it. and for a long time it was unclear what it was really meant to be. Obviously, bear in mind, this was at least a year before Yuha Bark was even a thing. And a lot of people have theorized that this is meant to be Yuha Bark, or at least a version of Yuha Bark long before his design was maybe finalized, some idea Kubo had in mind of what the final boss of Bleach might be. I'm not sure that was always the intention, as to me at least the chains would seem to imply that the villain had a connection to Hell, and as well it was around this point in the manga, maybe even this chapter exactly, when Kubo was actively promoting the Hellverse movie. I'm pretty sure the Hellverse tie-in chapter featuring Xyloporo and Aranero falling to Hell, called The Unforgivens, may have even come out this exact same week. Don't quote me on that, but it's definitely close. That being said, no matter what the intentions were back then, this new key art seems to pretty explicitly link Yuha Bark to this shadowy figure, to me at least anyway, where, aside from the chains, they look almost identical. I don't know if it really is meant to be Yuha Bark or not, but I do love the idea that it is, and this key art seems to want to make that connection, at least in my opinion. Moving on, the opening song has been confirmed to be Eyeball by Joji, I think that's the pronunciation, who I believe worked on the ending song for the recent Jujutsu Kaisen series, while the ending song for this is Rasen, or Spiral, by 9 Lana. Regarding the selection of these particular songs, Kubo had this to say: I personally listened to and decided on all the theme songs for the TV anime Bleach 1000 Year Blood War from the demo stage. Throughout the series, I wanted to have as many new artists as possible in charge of the songs. I also chose them with the hope that viewers would get to know the artists through 1000 Year Blood War, and then become fans of them. For the final season, we received more song proposals than ever before. Since it was the final season, I wanted a song with impact. I had always liked Joji's music, and there were some parts in the demo that I was a little hesitant about, so I asked if it was possible to change those parts to make them better. Joji replied with absolutely, so I made a few requests like, I like this part, and this part is good, and he came back with something that was like a completely different song. It was really good, and we decided on it right away. I really liked the powerful impact of the song, and as we continued to discuss it, it got better and better. So each time I felt more and more that this is definitely the song. Regarding choosing 9 Lana's Rasen as the final ending theme, Kubo said, among the proposals we received at the initial demo stage, this one stood out as being of the highest quality, so I decided at that stage that we would definitely use this song for either the opening or ending. The melody is that good, the lyrics are good, the arrangement is good, and the song itself is of very high quality. It could be used for either, but I was hoping that if possible, a song of this quality could be used for the ending. The intro is really good, and I thought it would be great if it could smoothly come in at the end of the story. The opening artist Joji commented saying, as someone who grew up watching Bleach, I was incredibly happy. I am deeply grateful to have been entrusted with the important role of creating the theme song for the final season, and at the same time I approached the songwriting process with a great sense of responsibility. Bleach taught me about courage in many forms, facing challenges, believing, protecting, and more. Therefore, I created this song to present my own definition of courage. I can't wait for it to be broadcast. And the ending artist 9 Lana said, I was very surprised when I heard the news that my song would be the ending theme. At the same time, I remember feeling a sense of determination to sing with all my heart, and my hands were sweating. I still can't believe that I'm involved in Bleach through music. It feels like a dream. I sang with all my heart and care, keeping in mind the strong figures and courage of Ichigo and the others as they grow stronger through repeated struggles and the precious emotions I learned from Bleach. So just a couple of bits and pieces to say regarding this. Obviously, I'm looking forward to hearing both of these songs. Again, normally we would have at least a snippet of these thanks to a trailer, but currently we don't have anything as far as I can see. I'm very encouraged. It's awesome to see Kubo saying that he specifically wanted to go for maybe slightly lesser known artists to help them get more recognition, to help them reach more people, knowing of course how big the 1000 Year Blood War arc could be and turned out to be. That's really awesome. I love that. That's a great thing to do. And I really like that both Joji and 9 Lana brought up courage in regards to what they wanted to convey in both the opening and the ending, as of course that's really what this core is going to be about. Of course, courage is the central theme of Aizen's very last speech in chapter 686, and it's going to be good to see that coming through here in the very final core, as of course the heroes make their final stand against a seemingly unstoppable foe. So that's really going to be awesome, and I think it was very encouraging to hear them both bring that up. Then we have some spoiler-free details about episode 1 of the core, or episode 41 in total, titled God of Thunder, the title of chapter 662. Now, I know there are extensive spoilers out there already. It's a minefield. Honestly, I think it's going to be a bit of a nightmare trying to evade them this season in particular, but I'll not be looking at them myself, and if I decide to talk about the first 3 episodes coming this week once I've seen them, I will obviously clearly mark them as such. So, the official synopsis of the episode, again, all of this was compiled by Arturo Plateado, reads as follows. Ichigo and Uryu stand side by side once again as friends and comrades. Ichigo, Orihime, and Chad head to the throne room to defeat Yhwach. Meanwhile, the king's light glows ominously in the eyes of Hashwolf, who stands before Uryu. Outside the castle, Yoruichi clashes with Naklavar. Urahara appears to save Yoruichi from peril and unleashes a plan to turn the tables. At the same time, strange occurrences begin to spread throughout all 3 realms. Even within this brief synopsis, there are already hints at new scenes. Strange occurrences beginning to spread throughout the 3 realms is fascinating to wonder about. Presumably they're already beginning to meld, and of course we saw really no such sign of this whatsoever in the manga. The king's light glowing ominously in the eyes of Hashwolf is interesting too. As we've noted before, we never see him actually using the Almighty in his battle with Uryu, so that's new as well. If I had to guess, based on this synopsis alone, I think the episode will end with Kisuke activating Bankai. It kind of seems like we might get a slight recap, although maybe not. I'm only really basing that on the fact that the Ichigo screenshot and the Hashwolf screenshot do seem to be shots from Core 3, but we'll get into that now. As on top of that, several screenshots were also revealed as well, so let's just go over those quickly. The first shot, like I said, featuring Ichigo, looks like a shot from the previous episode to me, taken from the sequence where he, Orihime, and Chad are running up the stairs towards Yhwach's throne room. It could be a totally new shot of Ichigo, to be fair, but still just a part of them running up the stairs. The next shot, featuring Yhwach with a toothy grin plastered on his face, is taken directly from chapter 672, whereupon the Quincy King wakes from what he believes to be a dream depicting his death at the hands of Ichigo's original Shikai, which of course foreshadows the final battle to come. The next shot shows Yoruichi also grinning, while lightning surges around her. Her cat ear hair is ever so slightly visible, because this is taken from chapter 662, when she spins around to keep fighting Askin after Kisuke temporarily releases her from the effects of the death dealing. Then we have Askin himself looking absolutely fabulous, and this is also taken from chapter 662, albeit earlier, as he explains to Yoruichi the full extent of the gift ball he used to bring her down. And then finally we have a shot of Hashwolf as his eyes glow blue. Again, this is of course taken from episode 40, the final episode of Core 3, as Uryu questions Hashwolf's ability to use the full extent of the Almighty. The fact they've specifically chosen the shot of Hashwolf's eyes while blue is intriguing to me, and suggests there will be real significance to that colour changing we've seen on both him and Uryu to date, as many of us have speculated. Finally, there are a couple of characters I want to briefly discuss, whose voice actors have already gone on record stating either their extended involvement in Core 4, or their involvement in Core 4 where there was none originally, and both are exciting. Again, these are technically spoilers, so I'll let you know now ahead of time, but I feel it's appropriate to include them here, since the word comes from the actors themselves. To begin, Megumi Ogata, the voice actress for Harabel, said alongside the reveal of the key visual, and I quote, "At last it concludes. Our heartfelt thanks to all the creators and staff who brought it to this point. Tia Harabel will also appear in the final core. Please look forward to it." That quote was shared with me by Neonzel, and I'll be honest, while this is exciting, it's not a massive surprise to me. I've been advocating for Harabel to have something else to do for a while now, considering she just totally vanishes in the manga without an explanation, and so far they've done a really solid job in the anime of ensuring everyone is accounted for. I've said before that I would love to see Nell and Grimjo rescuing Harabel from Varvelt's dungeons once the Askin fight is over, and honestly, I think we'll get that. But if we don't, then it's likely she'll appear either as part of an epilogue that kind of just shows us where all the characters ended up, or it's possible that they really are doing what else I've speculated about all this time and advocated for, and they will in fact be animating the Can't Fear Your Own World prologue. Either way, Harabel returning in some form is awesome, and the character deserved it after being, again, forgotten about in the manga. However, the one that is much more exciting for me personally comes way of Twitter user Zero Chiha and Reddit user Schneisel, who posted that Ginjo's voice actor Hiroki Tochi has seemingly teased Ginjo also receiving new scenes and is quoted as saying, "There are also newly added scenes supervised by Kubo-sensei, so I believe this will be a finale worthy of the series. I truly hope you're looking forward to it." Now, to be fair, just based on that, this doesn't necessarily mean new scenes of Ginjo specifically, unless he was talking about Ginjo prior to this quote. But again, considering who said it, I think we can definitely infer he's talking about Ginjo. And for those of you who don't know, Ginjo is one of my favourite characters in Bleach, and, well, let's just say I was more than a bit disappointed with his involvement in the final arc after his appearance was teased back in chapter 518, I think it was, and then like 150 chapters later he arrives and does literally nothing. If Core 4 really is adding new Ginjo content, then that is something I'm going to be getting hugely excited for. I mean, what could it be? A new fight scene for the Fullbringers, perhaps? Maybe involving Yhwach's strange Soul King power creations? Something to connect to Can't Fear Your Own World? A scene... I would love this. A scene of Ginjo fighting alongside Ichigo? I really don't know, but I sure as hell can't wait to find out. Alright guys, but that's it for today's video. A rundown of all the new information about Core 4, the Calamity, which is arriving very, very soon. Again, apologies for being a little bit late with this one, but I really wanted to talk about it. I think it was worth doing a video on as well. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below about everything here. The release date, the key art, the opening and ending song, the synopsis for episode 41, the voice actors seemingly confirming their involvement in Core 4, all of that. I'd love to get your thoughts down in the comments below, so do please let me know. Alright everyone, once again, thank you so very much for watching. Consider hitting subscribe down below if you haven't done already. If you're new to the channel, got a load of new subscribers recently as the excitement builds for the Calamity, and I cannot wait to share that moment with all of you, so thank you all so very much. And of course, check out the Patreon down in the description below as well. Your support over there is greatly appreciated and making a massive difference, so thank you all so very much. Alright guys, but until next time, I'll catch you later, and I'll see you then.